Sometimes when you're generating leads, a situation may come up where you need to post a lead into multiple systems. That's why in this video I'm going to show you how to set up multiple webhooks inside of LeadCapture.io. Now there's two main steps that you need to take. First, you need to set up the webhook, then you need to map the fields. So the prerequisite here before you even get started is that you're going to need your webhook posting instructions. The posting instructions will contain your webhook post URL. It will look something like this, and it will also contain the field mappings because we're going to have to map every single field that you're looking to post into the system. So now let's just dive into it. To set up your webhooks, go to Lead Delivery and then go all the way down to Webhook Settings and expand. Now, a really key thing to understand here is that within LeadCapture, we always start with the default webhook. So whether you're just using one webhook or multiple webhooks, the main or first webhook that you're setting should always be set here. And this field, webhook post URL, is required. And you can usually get that from within your platform's webhook posting guide. Or you can reach out to their support and I'm sure someone can guide you. Then these fields here are not required. This field here for the redirect URL, that's something a little more advanced if you're looking to do dynamic redirects. We'll cover that in a future video. Once you set up the webhook post URL, there may be some additional settings that you need to set based on your webhook posting guide. We won't cover that now, but if you run into any issues or have problems, just reach out. But this is your main webhook. When you need to set another webhook, go down here to create webhook integration. Click this button here, and you'll see upon clicking it, it now says additional webhook integration, and all of the fields are blank. You're going to, at the very least, need to add your webhook posting URL like this. Again, this should be provided within your platform's webhook posting guide. All of these fields are optional. You again may need to adjust some of this, and then when it's ready, click Save. And now if we go down a little bit, you'll see that we have our default webhook, so it redirected us back to the main webhook. And if you click Select Additional Webhook Integration, here's the additional one that we created. So now we have two webhooks. We have the default, and we have the additional that you just saw here. We can even create a third webhook. So let's just click Save. I'll refresh. And then I'll click on Create Webhook Integration. The fields are all blank. I'll post the webhook URL in, and then I'll click Save. And then if we go down here, you'll see that we have now technically 3 webhooks. So where it says select, that's default. That may say default by the time you watch this. And then there's also some additional webhooks, and we could keep going and going. So at this point, the webhook is all set up. But there's one more step that we need to take. We'll have to map the fields, and we'll have to map the fields for every single webhook. And the reason for this is because every system will more than likely have different naming conventions for the fields, and the fields need to be mapped one-to-one. It's all case sensitive. If they're not mapped properly, then they could potentially break. So let's just take the example of a contact step. So imagine that you have a contact step like this that asks for some contact information. Go to a step, let's just take the phone number, click on the little pencil, and this will drag you down to this section. You're going to look for the section here that says Webhook Settings. Now, you'll see when you expand on Webhook Settings, there's this field here called Webhook Field Name. A really key thing to understand is that this Webhook Field Name field corresponds with the default webhook that we set at the beginning of the video. So where it says phone, this webhook field name only applies to the default webhook field that's mapped to whatever system that maps to the phone field. So if you need to map to another webhook, you would click on Select Webhook Integration, and now you'll see we have all of our webhooks in this dropdown. So let's imagine that this is System 2 that you're looking to integrate into. You would then click on that dropdown and click Create Webhook Field, and then you could give the webhook field a name. Let's say the webhook field is actually something like phone number. You can adjust the field value type. It's typically a string, and then you'll click Save Webhook Field. And now that has been saved. We can now go back to the default field, and you'll see that the webhook field name is set as phone. And if we go back to that secondary webhook for System 2, you'll see it's phone number. We can even create a webhook field for the third webhook. Let's say this is System 3. Click there. It seems to be stuck, so I'll just refresh if that ever happens. Typically, you just need to refresh the page or jump to a different step. And for whatever reason, it's showing us phone number. This could potentially be a bug, so I'll look into that. But you should be able to create a different webhook field for every single webhook. And then you would just rinse and repeat for each field. So that's how to go about creating multiple webhooks. If you run into any problems or have any questions, just reach out and let us know. Thanks.